Hey everybody, thanks for joining. You're in the session for scaling technology partnerships. And to start, I really just want to find out who's working on tech partnerships right now. If you just want to raise your hand. And now I want to do a little exercise. Actually, keep your hands up. I know people hate this stuff, but we're going to make you do it anyway. So if you have 50 or more partners that you manage, tech partners, keep your hand up. OK, if you have 100 or more. OK, if you have 200 or more. If you have 500 or more. If you have 1,000 or more. And there's at least one person on the panel with 1,000 or more. But just so you know, if you can't actually see everybody, but there's quite a spread. And I think it's worth calling out that a lot of us are managing a ton of partners. And that's not easy. You have to take the phone calls. There's all the follow-ups that you all do from 9 p.m. to midnight every night to actually find time to send those emails. And so the goal for this panel is to talk about how you can actually create scale. Because it can't be all manual, of course. And so to kick things off, we're going to get into some intros real quick. And I'll start. So I'm Stewart Wesley. I'm the COO at PartnerPage. And formerly was working on tech partnerships at Klaviyo and Yotpo. I think we have some Yotpos back there. And I didn't necessarily do any of this right, but I learned at least some of the pitfalls and found a few things that work. And luckily, the rest of the panel has a lot more experience doing this, so we're going to hear from them. So maybe, Carina, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello. Is this thing on? Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm Carina Conaghan. I'm VP of Partnerships at Optimizely. I head up Tech and Strategic Alliances. And I think the question was also, what's your favorite department to work with? And my favorite department is solutions engineering. So give it up to all the solutions engineers out there. They're our business partners. We love you.
Agreed.
Yes.
Great. I'm Eric Chan, head of global partnerships at ChargeBee. And favorite department. I actually like working with the finance department, believe it or not. And then the close second to them would be the legal department, believe it or not.
Man.
It's a tough one to follow. Hi, I'm Brianna Strauss, Senior Partner Manager for Zapier. I'm sure I have a few partners here in the audience. Favorite department to work with would be product, I think, because it's been really impressive to see the different tools our product team has released this year based on partner feedback and how our partners were looking to embed tools like Zapier within their product.
Hey, I'm Chris Formosa. I'm a head of global technology partners and cloud alliances at Content Square. We're a digital experience analytics platform. And my favorite department to work with is definitely product. You get to come up with really cool use cases and innovative things and differentiated value for the customers. So yeah, it's exciting.
Awesome. Yeah, it's a good mix. I think it's interesting because it shows how different departments actually support or don't support partnerships. We probably have a least favorite in the room. We didn't do that one. It's a little negative. But not everybody gets that support from product to build integrations or new APIs. Not everybody gets a solutions engineer who's actually going to help them. And not everybody's finance team approves all of their expenses without looking like Eric's finance team. So just on that note, talking about how to work with other departments. Partnerships obviously does not stand alone. And tech partnerships touches arguably every department. So the question is really, how have you designed how you work with other departments to get resources that you need to just operate at the most basic level and ultimately scale partnerships? So, yeah.
Yeah, so for us, our tech partner team rolls up to our CRO and revenue team like the rest of our partner team. But we've built sort of tentacles out into the rest of the organization. So we have partner marketing who is direct line to marketing, but just as much on our team as she is on marketing. And then our product team, we have an integrations and openness team that has a direct line to product, but rolls sort of dotted line to me. And we work together on the integration pipeline, the roadmap and prioritizing that, supporting existing integrations, the API and infrastructures and all of that. But when it comes to working with other departments, there's 4 key things I really like to make sure we have nailed. We want to have buy-in at the executive level and all levels within each department. You want to then enable the teams with the right tools and resources so that they can make really good calls, and empower them to be able to make their own decisions so that you're not a bottleneck to them. And then lastly, you need to have the right reward structures, the right KPIs. You've aligned your OKRs to theirs, and there's the right sort of financial incentives for different teams so that you're motivating the right behaviors on the team. And so to give an example of this, and my favorite team to work with is product. And so I work really closely with our integrations and openness team, and in order to get our chief product officer on board with having this team sort of dotted line to me was we got our BI and data team to put together like an overarching analysis about the impact that technology partners and integrations have on the overarching business. So we could look at, okay, how do they impact renewal rates, upsells, expansion into different departments, the sales cycles, so we could then have an unbiased as possible, it's not a perfect science, but unbiased as possible outlook into the impact we're having, and then get them to align the OKRs to the product team. So with the product team, we decided their OKRs would be around not just developing new integrations, but it would be around the customer deployments and the adoption of our integrations, because that drove our stickiness goals. So then they're OKR'd on that. And then we enable our product team. They get a lot of requests from our salespeople, our CSMs, our revenue teams and field teams to build new integrations. And it's, in the beginning, it was really hard because I was a bottleneck. I had to approve and review and evaluate each and every single new integration request. But instead, we've enabled them with, Reveal and Crossbeam. We've developed a partner scoring framework for identifying the impact they'll have. And they've also built a sort of a crawler that crawls our customer sites to understand what vendors our customers are using, so that they are then empowered to make the decision, yeah, I'm going to prioritize this integration, it's going to have an impact on my OKRs, it's going to increase deployments, and we're aligned that way. And now we just meet bi-weekly. We go through what's the integration pipeline look like, do you need help with anything, can I connect you to people, and are there any roadblocks that I can help sort of get out of the way? So we're then helping them on those calls instead of being the yes and no person.
Yeah, I mean, there's one part in there too, which is at some point, somebody in the exec team or the head of product said, yeah, you know what, we'll do this. So I'm interested to hear how others have navigated that part of the process, actually getting the buy-in. You talked about your kind of process for shared KPIs and other mechanisms, but yeah, how are you all in other departments, your favorite departments, finance and legal and others, how are you getting them to actually say, you know what, yes, I'm going to help you? Is it a directive from the CEO, or are you doing some guerrilla tactics to actually get them to support you?
So I was going to say that it's working because we now have maybe half a dozen other departments within the company wanting to come join our team. And that isn't like an accident, that just happened overnight, right? What we're trying to do is we're trying to not only use data, I mean, data is very powerful, but it's actually turning those into stories as to what you're doing in marketing, what you're doing in product is actually driving the business or enabling sales to happen or deals to close faster, whatever that is. And it's showing that we're instigating it. Obviously, they're helping to do the execution. But because of that, trust and building that story together, that's how we're sort of trying to create these raving fans. And now we have, like I said, customer success people, we have finance people wanting to join the partnerships team because they're like, you guys are doing so much more interesting work than me just creating data sheets or selling to, customers, right? So we're creating that, how many people can we have in our tent to really come advocate for us? And then when it comes to asking for their time, they're like, yeah, I'll throw my hand up. They're really interested in making us successful, which also makes them look good.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, you kind of remind me of one thing that I've seen happen, which is when you grab someone from another department. I did this a lot with CSMs at Klaviyo. If you can bring them onto the partner team, you now have this advocate who knows that org, and you've actually created a way to understand it and work with it better. And then arguably that happens when you switch between partner organizations, but that's a whole other topic. Any other thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I would also add that I think in partnerships, just being that cross-functional, like having those cross-functional skills is so important, like externally and internally. So if you're chatting with marketing, you're going to position that opportunity with a partner different and pitch it different based on their goals and their internal KPIs that they're hoping to achieve. If we're working with our integrations team, like we'll create an opportunity brief that outlines like why is this important? Like why should we do this? Like what is the impact? And what is the, is it a high calorie or low calorie lift for our integrations team? And obviously with Zapier having so many partners, like that kind of documentation is so key for us and something that we work collaboratively with partners. Like if I'm working with a partner like Slack and they have a new opportunity that they're pitching us, I'll be like, okay, well, help me build the case internally and work with me towards that so that I can sell it because you're my partner and I'd love to make this happen for you. But I need your help and your buy-in so that we can, go to our internal teams and make that project happen.
Yeah, totally. And I'm hearing across these three answers, like empathy for those departments, like caring about what they want, messaging to them in terms of what they need, and how they're going to benefit from collaborating with the partnerships team is huge. And like I said, I've learned a lot of this myself by doing it wrong. And like when I was at Yapo, I remember trying to get co-marketing resources by just like kicking and screaming about it. And that's just not how it works. You get it by being empathetic, and that's how you can actually get people to care about partnerships across the org.
Yeah, and if I can just add one thing on that's really simple, but we started doing at scale, and it's super boring, super simple, but whatever you're doing with a partner, if it's even something basic like an integration or you're doing an event, put together a business requirement document and start putting owners on it. Because what you'll learn about the partnerships org, and if you've been in it for a long time, is we do a little bit of everything, and actually sometimes our organizations have these people internally. So put together a business requirement document, outline what you want to do, outline the owners, do a kickoff call, and get them to commit to supporting your team. So that's been really successful for us when we want to roll out big projects, small projects, 5-minute BDR, get everyone on the call, assign their roles, and away we go, and they make them take accountability for helping the team. So that's extremely helpful.
Yeah, definitely. We have a little bit of time left on this one. I want to just add a quick follow-on question to this. So it's easy to talk about successes, but I think sometimes it's not so easy. So what's an example, and maybe just one or two responses on this one, but what's an example of a time where you needed to work with a department, you needed support, and you couldn't get it, and hopefully there's a happy kind of ending to the story where you were able to get it, but I know it doesn't always work like that. Like, what do you do when you can't get the resources you need? Has that happened to you guys?
Escalate.
Escalate.
Yeah. Yeah, I just bring it back to like what's that team's KPIs? What are they trying to drive? And maybe it might not happen this quarter, but how can I get in the conversation when they're setting their objectives for next quarter? And so if I'm working with customer success, for example, and I know we need to feed one of our partners more deals, like they've given us more than we've given them. And I get pushback, like, from some of the CS teams, like, oh, no, we're Switzerland, we can't play, sides. I roll it back up to the customer success team and say, hey, let's look back at this analysis that we did that shows the retention rates. So if you have a customer who is, they're about to, churn off one of your partners, well, your customer success person is going to lose an integration out of that account.
Right.
And what's the impact that's going to have on the potential for renewal? And so we need to recontextualize the thinking with CS there that hey, you're not just losing a partner out of that and Intel, you're losing an integration. You have to find a new integration and replace that to make sure you're hitting a minimum KPI that we've set of at least 3 integrations per account. And so escalate, have that conversation and get above.
Yeah, the escalation question's interesting because it brings up something that comes up constantly, which is executive buy-in. If you do escalate, do the people at the top actually care enough to say, you know what, we should do it this way? Ideally, you resolve it with the department head. If you do bring it to the top, what happens? And it's a spectrum, and we've all worked at organizations where there's really high exec buy-in and really low. So it is interesting where that might not even solve it sometimes, and maybe we do without those resources.
Yeah, I feel like I had a completely different answer. I was going to say get scrappy. We can't do this, but what can we do? What resources do we have internally? what skills do I have that I can like, piece together some like marketing piece or something so that I don't have to ask for that from a marketing team. So I think just being able to work with your teams to figure out what's possible, and then like obviously communicating that back to the partner or whatever you're working towards.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I wonder if John from Full Story is in here. He codes his own integrations and is a tech partner manager. He's the only one I know who does this. So
Wow.
yeah, if you want to get scrappy and just do it yourself, that is an option if you're willing to learn to code.
I'm not that scrappy. So.
Cool. All right, I think we'll move on to the next question. And so this is a discussion about scale. You need to get the resources, but we also need process. And so this question is about just what is the process that you've implemented on a more tactical level that has allowed for your organization to scale and that has made a huge impact, so that some of these people in the audience can potentially take some of that back to their organizations.
Yeah, I can start. I think for Zapier, there's a couple different things that we've done, but one with the most impact was really building out our developer platform. Zapier's been around for about 10 years, and to give you an idea about scale, in 2018 we had 750 partners, and today, 4 years later, we have over 5,000. So opening up our, creating better API docs and like opening up our developer platform so that partners could self-serve through the process themselves, because before it was a lot of lift from our team to help them build the integration, walk them through the process. But now we've fully automated that so that it's a very streamlined process. It's very quick for our partners to walk through that process. And essentially what it does is it launches them into our beta partner program, which we found is really good for quality assurance, because then we have users that are using the integration, saying if there's like bugs or feature requests that need to be completed before it's launched, and so we can address those issues with the partner before it's officially launched on our platform. And so from that perspective, it's been really great for Zapier to have people build on our platform without having so much of a high lift from our team.
Totally. And actually, can you remind me, how many partners does your team manage of those 5,000?
Yeah, I think people are always surprised how the size of Zapier's team. So our technology partnerships team is about 8 people. And then from that, so we have 2 that are focused on launches, so helping, answer those questions and get partners launched, and then 2 on platform. So that would be like basically the whole of our partners, and then 2 on strategic alliances, which would be our ecosystem partners like a Salesforce, Google, Amazon, something with multiple product lines. So from that perspective, we try to work with as many partners as we can and automate those processes so that we can reach our long tail and our managed partners as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think just like if you are considering a developer portal, if you have the scale and demand for developers to self-serve, like I can't imagine a better program to check out for like just like the sheer magnitude of that process. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, and I think another thing is what Zapier does well is we've done a lot of surveys with our partners to see like what's most meaningful to them and what will incentivize them. And what we've found is that marketing perks and marketing benefits are really meaningful to our partners. So we try to align our program with that as well at scale to say like, if you're this tiered within our partner program, these are the marketing perks that you're able to take advantage of as an incentive to hopefully move up the ranks within our program and work closer with us as a partner. But we also have a lot of things that are like automated directly through when you're launched. Like you get a landing page that basically connects your app with like all of our 5,000 apps, which is great for SEO, and that's just something that's like coded into our platform.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Since we're talking about tiering, can I add on to that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so we have, I think everyone has their own like external tiering for different technology partners. We have our external one, which is the precious metals. But then we also have our own internal, sort of categorization, if you will, for our tech partners. So anytime we're bringing in a new tech partner, I mentioned our partner scoring framework, which is essentially just a list of, quite a long list of yes or no questions across, what's their impact going to be on our, our credibility in the space, what's the potential TAM, the co-sell impact, culture fit, do they have a tech partner team, are their KPIs aligned to ours? But then we start, based on their score, it kind of auto funnels them into an internal category, whether they're going to be a managed partner, a developed partner, or a focus partner. So our managed partners are the ones where we provide them with as many templates and self-serve resources as possible, so they can really like onboard themselves with as little intervention from us as possible. Like we're still there to support them, but we can't get to everyone, right? So we'll do that with the managed partners, and then with the develop and focus partners, this is where we're a little more proactive, and so we have a partner health scoring or partner health tracking framework, which looks at all of the key pillars of a partnership to track whether it's healthy or not. So we look at the co-selling and how many, the pipeline. We look at co-marketing leads that have come through. Have we enabled the right people? Is the right executive alignment there? So that anytime a partner falls or dips below a baseline that we've maybe set, like, hey, we have a goal to hit this much pipeline per quarter. If it falls below, we're not, sort of scrambling to figure out what went wrong. We're able to really quickly triage and figure out, okay, this needs more enablement. We need an enablement calendar or something like that. So that's really helped us, I think, prioritize where we're focusing our effort. And then any of the managed partners who don't, use your templates, they've kind of weeded themselves out.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the tiers, just like that level of any prioritization becomes critical. Like if you're going to scale, it means you have too many to get on the phone with them every day. You need to have some level of focus. I think that is an outstanding like top tier tiering status. I didn't mean to say that, but top tier tiering status. I will say there's even like very simple frameworks that you can do, 5 points on 2 different axes. Like what's the go-to-market potential? What's the integration strength? That's all I did in my last role. And you should work to something as complex as that. But if you don't have any tiering structure, you can at least start asking that question of who are the top priority partners.
I was going to add 2 other things on top of what Chris was saying. It's one thing to have your partner program established, right? And on that note, I would add, unlike maybe sports teams in the U.S., like the European Soccer League is a good example of where you need to introduce promotion and relegation, because what they did this year, they might not be able to do next year. Or what they did last year, they may actually improve. So you actually need to give them some capabilities of promotion and relegation, and maybe the frameworks change, right? So that's what you have to be able to do. The second one is, if you then think about how you rank with your partners, how many of you have had that QBR and just ask them the direct question? I am doing this amount of business with you, whether it be transactions, ops, business, where do I rank? And by the way, if I were to get to this next level, whatever it is, $1 billion or 1,000 ops a year, does that unlock certain doors? Do I get access to the CEO? Do I get access to more MDF, right? And the interesting part is not just asking the question, it's actually understanding what the answer is. If the answer is very canned response, that's actually somewhat good, because then you can create a business plan, get alignment, and get there. If they don't have an answer, it gives you the opportunity to say, okay, well, fine. So if I get there, I have these lists of demands that I want you to do, and start the negotiation process there, right? Because maybe that partner is really good to you, or maybe that is a strategic partner because of their, their logo or what they represent.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this gets us to our last question, which is, we're talking about scaling processes, but there's a motivation question. How do you get your partners to be motivated to come to the table with you, to care most about your program, not your competitors, not the other 100 partners they have? And if you don't have an answer to that question, if you don't have an answer to the question, like, what do you get if you do all these things? Why should they do it at all? And so the question I have for the group, and Brianna actually got to it a bit already with her kind of scalable marketing, is like, what do you do that scales really well where you can give back to your partners?
Yeah, so at Optimizely, if anyone doesn't know, in 2020 we were actually acquired by another company, Episerver. So by default we inherited went from one product to 6 products that we take to market across different products, B2C, B2C commerce, experimentation, the list is getting bigger. And for that, we have so many different types of partners, and they care about different things, like what Eric was saying. So we've developed a strategic partner framework across 4 pillars of our ecosystem. So the first thing is like strategic objectives. Like before we even talk about go to market, which everyone wants to jump straight to, it's like, let's just have a frank conversation about what you want to achieve from this relationship. So that's like 101 for us. Secondly, it's around product innovation and strategy, like what are we building, or what do we already have, and who's that total addressable market for that product. Thirdly, it's around partner org readiness, so like what's our enablement strategy, what assets do we have, and in that org readiness is probably the most fundamental part of our partnership strategy, and that's when we think about, okay, what's our messaging framework, and we have these out-the-box templates that we actually have been extremely fortunate at Optimize. We've got a fairly large technology partnership team, so we create things like 101 assets, messaging frameworks, emails for SDRs to send out, helicopter demo videos that sales reps can just put in their pitches. Most recently, we created an ebook, which is like, imagine every single thing you have with your best partner in one ebook that can go out to a customer, from an integration to a demo video to a customer story about the better together, or even a win. So for us, having these 4 pillars together, then we can start thinking about what is our go-to-market strategy, who are the personas we want to attract, but probably the most important thing is who are the personas internally that we want to talk to about this story, and how do we engage them? And as everyone knows, like sales care about business development and TAM. CSMs care about adoption. So you have to be really careful when you're doing enablement, what type of content you're giving them, and what do you want them to take away from that. So just to summarize, really creating a framework that's consistent against all your partners, so you have the same assets that go to sales, regardless of the partner, the same ways of working, the same way of engaging, to really drive that partnership forward. And we create that for our partners a lot of the time. And I know we have a lot of partners in the room, so thank you for your partnership.
I can speak firsthand of being a beneficiary of all of these assets and resources. Thank you.
I keep hearing about the Content Square ebook that you guys produced together.
We'll send the ebook out if you email me. No,
You better read it.
Yeah.
You got to read those ebooks.
Yeah, the ebooks.
Someone's got it.
The ebooks are really important. We also have our app marketplace, which is a way to promote and give back to our partners as well. But I think most importantly, just having those 101 assets, and don't boil the ocean. Just have free slides, and that's what sales can then take. And if you have an internal enablement platform, have them in there as well, so sales can get that information. Thank
Sorry,
you.
it's just an accident waiting to happen.
Eric.
Yeah.
I would say, the amount of effort you're going to put in upfront, so a little bit of more of what you're saying, Carina, is if you can go through a formalized business planning exercise, you're going to unpack, do I need to work with sales, account management, maybe even your sales engineering or solution engineering team, product, et cetera, because I think you'll see that if they start retracting as soon as you throw down a business plan template, kind of where they're at, right? They're probably going to be somewhere of maybe managed or unmanaged. But if they're really game to think about what that long-term plan is, they're going to start talking about, a 3-year plan or a multi-quarter year plan, rather than give me something now, or can you provide me this in the next 6 months, right? So that tone and that pace is also something you have to start that negotiation process even before you start executing on that plan. And that gives you a pretty good gauge of how many people you can kind of, prioritize, like you said, push over here, or, hey, I need to spend a lot more time, meeting more folks from that partner so that I can actually build a more comprehensive and engaged plan across all different departments and levels.
Yeah, for sure.
And who's guilty of saying on your first call with a partner, let's do an event together, before you even have the 101? So it is kind of really attractive to just get into a webinar or do an event, but once you create these assets and invest that time in the strategic objectives and the messaging framework, that partnership will be fruitful forever. Even when you leave, I still dig out content. I know Brian Cahat's here from Accenture from 2015, and I'm like, this was such great content, and it's still valuable for today for our relationship. So, you know, this content lives forever, you know, and you can tweak it and adapt it to your product, but just do the basics first. It's really important.
So we're all doing an event together. I haven't signed a partnership agreement yet.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Talk to legal. Talk to legal for 3 months.
Or at
Just
least an
drag that
ebook,
out.
right?
That's right.
At least an ebook.
So we agreed to an ebook before a partnership contract and before we've talked. Awesome. Isn't that how everything works, right?
Oh yeah, we can take a question from the crowd. How many partners? So I think the question was, how many partners do you all have with no formal agreement?
I guess it depends on if you would call them a partner, but we have like hundreds of integrations, but we don't necessarily partner with all of them. We have about 125 integrations that we've productized, and then we've got partner agreements with probably half of them.
We're getting the time signal. We might just come down here and hang out for a bit. Or actually, we'll go outside. If anybody wants to keep talking about tech partnerships, we could probably do this for 3 more hours. If we had on the yacht, yeah. And if we have alcohol, we'll talk for like 10 more hours about this. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining. We'd love to keep the conversation going. Yeah, and we'll see you all soon.